On episode 4, we detailed the disappearance of 13-year-old Brandy Myers. The teen went missing while collecting money for a school project and has never been found. After a chilling interview with Brian Patrick Miller's ex-wife, she believed Brian killed Brandy. Phoenix police recommended Miller be charged with first-degree murder for Brandy's disappearance and death. County Attorney's Office declined to charge him. Brandy's sister is still fighting for justice.
I was 27, and I was always running alone. I was noticing everybody that was on the trail. He had stopped down up ahead and sat on the picnic table. And as we got closer, I don't know, I just had a bad feeling. And so I turned around before he could get to me.
This is True Crime Arizona, The Zombie Hunter.
This podcast episode is a little bit different. Morgan and I have had episodes planned that we've been working on for months. But once we started releasing episodes on The Zombie Hunter, people started coming out of the woodwork. People who say they knew Brian Patrick Miller or who had had experiences with him. We wanted to interview people coming forward to learn about Miller and his interactions with people in the community. But this specific phone call may shine light on the night Angela Brosso went missing during her bike ride, because this woman claims to have been there on the Canal Trail too. We've gone through extensive vetting to make sure the new information we're learning in our investigation is credible and that people actually had these interactions. This story and experience has been vetted to a T. This is my phone call with Melinda. We're not using her last name to protect her. At the time, she lived near the area of the canal in 1992 and frequently ran and rollerbladed along that path.
Hello?
Hi, is this Melinda?
Yes.
Hey, it's Brianna Whitney. How are you?
It's November of 1992.
Did you know Angela?
No, I didn't know her, no. But I did live in an apartment that looked out over the trail, over that field area, and I would leave my doors open at night. So I was very familiar with that whole area. I mean, I ran there for years and just watched it change.
You say it started to change. What do you mean?
It got more crowded. It used to be I could go out down the trail and I wouldn't see anybody. That's how it was when I first started.
This is a place Melinda was extremely familiar with. She tells me she knows streets and landmarks in that area very well. But this odd experience she had with another male biker one night prompted her to call police. At the time, she didn't know who he was.
And so when you called in your tip to police, did you just give a physical description?
Well, they never actually talked to me, and the first time I called, I left my name and number. And then I thought, well, they'll probably get inundated with calls, and so the next time, it was quite a few months later, I called and I said something about a guy on a bike, but I asked them to call me back because I couldn't go into the details because there was so much.
Right.
And I never got a call back.
So why don't you take me through what you saw and witnessed that made you call police?
It really started when I came back to the trail, even though I had started going up the other trail, and I was rollerblading at the time, and that was the only place that had the concrete that I could rollerblade. It was getting late one day, and I didn't have time to go up the mountain, so I stopped at that trail, and I parked, and I had that bad feeling again, and I thought, well, it's not even dark yet. I'll just go to the first crossing past Cactus, and then I'll come back. I'll get back before dark to my car. And so when I got out, I still had that feeling from the last time that I had been on the trail rollerblading. And so I got out and I was looking at everybody, and there was nobody on that side. If you know the way the area is, on the east side of the canal, there wouldn't be very many people. And the concrete trail would go around around the parking area, around the grassy area, and kind of like a loop, but it wasn't straight. And then it would go to the west side up to Cactus, and you could cross the street and go along the field, and that was the busy side of the trail. So there was a few bikers that would be over there, but it wasn't real heavily trafficked. It didn't seem like the parking area and the rest of it was. So I parked there and I got out, and I thought, well, I want to get as much run in as I can. I thought, instead of going around to the west side, I'll go on the east to the Cactus, and then I'll double back and go around the loop to the west. And there was only one girl that was pushing a baby carriage, and I noticed this guy was coming, and it was just because I had run trails for so long and you see a lot of things. I was noticing everybody that was on the trail, and he was the only one coming towards me, and that girl was going towards him. He didn't look like a bicyclist, and he was wearing a backpack, which was unusual for people that were out riding on the trail. I was just completely focused on what he was doing, because that's when you run alone, and I was 27, and I was always running alone, so I was concerned about that. He just rode right down the center of the trail, and this lady had to move completely off with her baby carriage, her stroller. I thought, that's strange. That guy seems kind of bold or not considerate. And as we got closer, I don't know, I just had a bad feeling. And so I turned around before he could get to me, and I thought, I'm just going to go back. I'm just going to get this run done and get out of here. So I jumped off on purpose so that he couldn't come up on from behind me. It seemed like it surprised him. He just seemed mad or irritated or something, just because of the fact that I did that. And I just stared at him, and I thought, he doesn't look like a bicyclist. He doesn't look like somebody that's usually out here, and he had long hair, and he was wearing a hat, and he had on these glasses that looked like prescription glasses, but they tinted in the sun. So I thought, well, those aren't really sunglasses, and he was riding along with his water bottle, and I was really relieved that he had passed me, and I didn't think that I would have any problem. I didn't think about it until I got up around a curve or something where I could see better, and I realized that he had stopped down up ahead and sat on the picnic table by these restrooms. But he was sitting on top of the table facing me, because the trail went directly towards the picnic table, past the picnic table and the restrooms that were there. And I was looking at him from a distance, and I thought, why is he just sitting there? And I was thinking, he'll get up and go, to myself, So I stopped and walked, and he was looking at the people that were on the other side of the trail, because there was nobody else between me and him.
Melinda said as she got closer, it appeared he was inappropriately touching himself with his legs spread open. She was nervous and scared.
As I was passing him, I was thinking he could come run over here and grab me so easy. And I was seriously, petrified, really. And so I kept on, I got past him, and I kept checking my peripheral vision, because I fully expected him to get on his bike and come after me, because he was going that direction. But he didn't, and so I kept on going, and I was really thankful. And I went around, and I got to where there was more people on that side. It was staying in the back of my mind, and that's when I saw Angela come out and come up the trail. And she seemed like she was kind of hurrying, coming fast, because in this amount of time, that the events that I just told you, the sun was going down pretty fast. It was because of that time of the evening, and she was coming down pretty fast towards me, and I was still looking for the guy. It's really the only reason I saw her coming towards me. And when she got to me and passed, she was riding without any hands, sitting up on her bike, which I did myself a lot, and she was adjusting this Walkman thing. I guess, I don't know, she was doing something to the knob. I don't know if it was the volume or what. I don't know why I noticed everything about her, but I was looking at everybody because I had the bad feeling about the trail, and I noticed that her bike was completely clean, her shoes were no dirt, completely clean, and I noticed what she was wearing and how short her hair was, because there wasn't a lot of people that had really short haircuts, at that time. And she was wearing a bodysuit, a one-piece bodysuit thing with a zipper in the front, and she had a shirt over it that didn't have long sleeves. It had like They were like short.
Did she have separate shorts over the bodysuit?
Yes, oh yes.
Do you remember what color they were?
What I remember, they were white. And I thought, well, surely, the police must have all these details. They must know all this stuff. And I didn't even think about it until later when different things started airing on TV. It was getting dark. The sun was down, and she was in front of me, and he was on the other side, and I thought, there is no way. I had such a bad feeling, and I thought, I'll come back in the morning, and I did. And it was probably maybe 8 or 8:30, a little after 8, and I parked for the same place on Cactus, and got out, and I started going around the park, and somebody that worked on the grounds was saying something to me, and I couldn't hear him, and I thought, I'm not going to go over any closer to hear what he's saying, but I think he said something like, you shouldn't be here. And I thought, man, that guy's weird, and I kept on going around the trail, because there was nobody there, and that's usually how the trails were when I ran. But I thought it was strange nobody was there, and when I got to Cactus, there was yellow tape up. And I thought, oh man, I wonder what happened here. And I thought, no wonder, I'm glad I didn't go, because I had that bad feeling the night before.
At first, Melinda didn't know what crime had happened until a couple days later when she turned on the news and saw Angela Brosso had been decapitated and her body and head were found along and in the canal.
When you found out that it was Angela Brosso's body that was found, did you immediately recognize her as the girl you think you passed?
Yes, definitely.
Was there any doubt?
No, not one doubt in my mind at all. Same color hair. I mean, everything. That was her. I mean, I saw her face. I mean, her face was plastered all over. It was like she had a lot of energy. I don't know if it's because she was just taking off on her bike ride, and she was taking off and going. But I had no, absolutely never doubted that in my mind.
Melinda didn't know who the man was that she saw on the bike that night. So she didn't have a name or any identity she could try to give police other than a physical description. Years later, Brian Patrick Miller was arrested for Angela Brosso's murder.
He wasn't arrested for years. When he was arrested in 2015, what did you think when you saw that?
I was so angry with myself that I didn't just be persistent and make somebody listen to me.
Miller's mugshot was plastered everywhere, across all newspapers, the top story on all newscasts.
That was definitely him. I mean, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was him. He looked the same, except his hair was long and straggly kind of looking, and he was wearing a hat.
Since his arrest, Melinda has contacted not only Phoenix police, but also the Maricopa County Attorney's Office several times about her experience and what she saw. For her, it's an emotional experience, a guilt she's carried for decades, wishing she could have done more to save Angela or get meetings with detectives sooner. Melinda is open about dealing with the mental anguish from this, even to this day.
I'm still affected by it, but I just really felt that I'm glad that you called, because I really felt that I could finally tell somebody.
Next time on True Crime Arizona, The Zombie Hunter.
I was there in his front lawn the day before he was taken into custody.
Shooting another crime.
I saw his face pop up on the news, and I honestly didn't really know who it was at first. And then our phones blew up, and everyone was like, oh my God, did you see the news? Because that's the guy that went to our church.
I looked in my rear view, and it was dark out, and I seen what I thought was a cop. And now that I found out all that, it really scared me, because what if I pulled over?
I think he's a mass murderer. And if they can tie him to other homicides, I wouldn't be surprised.
True Crime Arizona, The Zombie Hunter is hosted by me, Brianna Whitney.
And me, Morgan Lowe. Sergio Hernandez is the producer.
This episode was edited by Rick Olivares. It's a production of Arizona's Family, CBS 5, 3TV, and azfamily.com in Phoenix, Arizona.